Hey everybody, it's Beverly Whipple, your tattooed realtor, and I'm here with Doug Cook, the vet's vet with Hancock Mortgage. So today's step is inspection and appraisal. Last week we talked that your offer was accepted. That's great. I don't do a whole lot of work up at that point. It's all Doug and his team. But what I do handle is the inspection, and then Doug will tell you about the appraisal. So the inspection, I typically want to get that done as soon as we can so we know what we're stepping into. It's very, very overwhelming, these inspections, and so I really like to be readily available when you're reviewing these sheets. A lot of inspectors are welcoming to you coming to the last 30 minutes of the inspection so they can walk the clients through. As a rule of thumb, agent, we don't like to be there because there's some things that can, undo stress. So if that's something that you want to do, most of them are more than happy to accommodate you. But other than that, I just read through the documentation with you and I make a list on some of the major things that may be an issue. We want to be very careful with our renegotiation skills because there can be a can of worms that gets opened up during this time, and that's not something that we want to do. We don't want to go back and renegotiate the contract, but we do want to be open-minded and prepared for some things we may read. So some things that I am more concerned over others are major plumbing issues, electrical, roof issues, pretty much anything that are your main safety and health hazards. So minor cosmetic issues, I don't really have, I don't want to ask the seller to repair that. But things like the roof is caving in or there's a big massive hole in the wall, we will want that addressed. So depending on what the inspection finds and you're comfortable with moving forward with some things that we may want to see if we can have the seller fix, that's what we do. So don't be overwhelmed, because it can be a very scary thing to see, 27 pages of every little thing that may or may not be wrong with the home. So don't be scared, we've got your back. But then along that same line is the appraisal. So how do you handle the appraisal?
Okay, a lot of people confuse the inspection with the appraisal. They have two different functions. The inspection, they're going through to annotate everything that's wrong with the house. Like if you as a renter and you're just renting an apartment, you're going to do the same thing so that you're not held liable when you leave. And so in the appraisal that's where we determine value. And we have to have an appraisal because we have to justify that sales price, right?
Yeah.
So the appraiser goes in and he's not gonna look at things that are necessarily wrong with the house. He's gonna look at square footage, he's gonna look at condition of the house, and he's gonna take comparables. He's going to compare it to different properties, the same square footage, the same price range, and the same characteristics, and he's going to compare them to come up with value. Now, if there's issues with value, if he can't come to the value, then when I say when he can't come to the value, he's not to the sales price or above. Then there's some things that we need to do to fix it.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's where I hand it back over to Bev. Now, what are some things that we can do to fix it?
Well, we may have to go in and renegotiate the price with the seller. That is one of the biggest things, because if you can't buy the home for that price, we hope that the seller's not going to cancel on us. They're going to have the same problem down the line with somebody else who may want to buy the home. So that is always the first thing I want to do, is kind of open up communication with the listing agent so he can talk to the seller and just see what their options are. So that's what I would start with.
Right, and there's a couple of reasons why it wouldn't meet value or why it wouldn't meet the sales price. Either the listing agent is listing it higher, and they're not properly listing it, or the appraiser just didn't see the justification for that sales price.
And on the same lines, if I am looking at the appraisal and I think that the home price is great, I can always go to the appraiser and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you thinking? And I can do some comps myself to be able to get that value up. I mean, if you feel comfortable moving forward, and I can try to talk to the appraiser and just kind of get into their frame of mind and see what they were thinking and see their comps. So,
right.
Yeah.
Now, if the appraisal doesn't come in at the price we need it to, or the sales price, there's a couple of different remedies. Either you guys can renegotiate the contract to have the buyers bring the price down, or if you're a buyer and you really, really, really want this house You would just have to come in with the difference of the appraised value and the sales price. So it doesn't mean it's a dead deal. It just means that there needs to be some negotiation.
Some creativeness on our end.
Right. So once the appraisal's done, we meet value. That's a hurdle that's a major hurdle that's been overcome. And so once we hit that, then it's time to move forward. Okay.
And what's the next step?
The next step is going to be, hopefully, clear to close and settlement, which is another word for closing, where you come in and you sign all your documents. So we'll talk about that next week.
All right. Okay, guys. We will see you next week.
See ya.